Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special episode. Recently, we got invited to Adams State University for National Ghost Hunting Day. And first off, thank you, Adams State Dining, for the invitation. The whole group had a whole lot of fun, and we hope to come back soon. So we started off our awesome day there at Adams State, giving a presentation on ghost hunting, as well as what we've done in the field of ghost hunting or paranormal investigating. So today we're going to share our presentation. Now, at the beginning of it, I didn't record us, but I did record us as we got into some of our personal experiences as well as the Q&A. Jump right into our personal experiences.
Because it was just a freaky situation. I wasn't listening to what it was saying at all. So I have literally no idea what it was whispering to me, but there was voices coming out of that energy that was in front of me. And like I said, I still don't feel like it was a paranormal experience. I was probably tired. Okay, I've already been up for a normal 18 hours. I've been up for 18 hours, super early in the morning. It's kind of later on in the night, and I'm still gonna write it off as I was tired. Have you ever had that feeling to where you're kind of like maybe playing a video game or watching TV and you're just kind of dozing off?
Well, I was tired.
Yeah.
That's never happened to me before, though.
That's never happened to me before.
Yeah, see, Cooks,
It's never happened to
that
me
kind of
before.
stuff doesn't happen when you're tired.
I just want to sleep,
College kids here. Okay, this college kids know all about being tired.
Yeah, they know.
I'm still going to write it off as I'm tired. Okay. It didn't hurt me. There was nothing that was painful about it. It was just kind of a scary feeling to feel paralyzed, not be able to talk, not be able to move, but still be conscious. I could almost explain it like if it was sleep paralysis. You're awake, you can't move. But that was one of my experiences. The only other experience that I've ever had, I'm still going to write it off as something in my head. We were doing an investigation, Beth's house. We were downstairs in the basement, which is where they say a lot of things happen. They've had things happen upstairs as well, but we were really focused downstairs. It was Keegan and I. We were in a specific room.
It wasn't Ashley's room. It was
yeah.
It was Beth's old house or Beth's old room.
Right. But it was just Keegan and I in that room. Keegan was asking questions. I'm just there filming with my phone.
I'm usually trying to get possessed or something.
Yeah, we're always asking the demon or entity itself
Yeah.
to go ahead, possess this guy.
He antagonizes the ghost.
Again, he's just asking questions. He's filming with the camera as well. I got my camera, and all of a sudden I start feeling kind of like a weird tapping feeling on my shoulder, and I kind of freaked out. I was like, well, that was fucking weird. And again, I'm just thinking in my head. I'm just thinking something up in my own head. But I did kind of freak out in that moment. I jumped. I dropped the phone on the floor. I started feeling a burning sensation in my shoulder, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go take a breather. So I left the room, I went outside, a little breather. My shoulder, it had a burning sensation. But again, I'm making it up in my own head. I'm bringing something into existence that isn't there with my own head. And I still don't feel any different. I'm a skeptic. I'm staying that way because I still don't believe it. I haven't had anything actually hurt me, actually physically in front of me, so I'm not going to believe it unless I actually see it. Not a mirage in front of my face. Whispers. I'm tired. Those are my experiences. And those are the only two I've ever had in my entire life. I'm 33. Okay, so.
No, we're gonna get Matt up here.
Oh, okay.
So Matt, like I said, usually deals with the film aspect and trying to find the history there. Matt does have a lot of good experiences though, and he is a believer in the paranormal. So he'll tell you 2 or 3 of his
Some of my earliest, the first one was not so much really a ghost or anything like that. I truly felt was my guardian angel who saved my life. I was with a group of buddies, probably 7 years old. We were riding our bikes through neighborhood streets. You know how it is. I mean, doing kid stuff. I'm well ahead of them, so I just crossed the sidewalk. I'm riding into the street. I look behind to see like how far back they are, and by the time I turn back around in front of me, I'm already coming up to the other side of the sidewalk, and somebody has one of those RVs that has the trailer hitch that used to be like the hooks that you'd have to hook into the bed of the truck, and it's coming like right at my face, and I'm whoa, and then just some force pushed my head down all the way into the handlebars, and I came up right up on the sidewalk, came to a dead stop before I slammed into the fence, and then my head shot back up, and to this day I have no idea, like it's like wow, something there say like I should have either been decapitated, or every time I went down I should have went through the fence, maybe had splinters, cuts, whatever, but something that day changed, you know, my outlook. So I've always had the belief that there is another source of power out there. There's another greater being than just us. You know, people don't report ghosts if they didn't exist. You know, I mean, obviously people report it because they do exist and they are amongst us. Another one was I was probably 22, so maybe about 16 years ago. I was at my one of my cousin's house in Nevada, and she always described, you know, like when she had any house guests, like watching their house when they were gone, taking care of their pets, they would go to the back of the house. This is a ranch style house. Anytime they went to the back, all of a sudden something would be breathing on their neck. You would feel that hot air as if somebody were standing behind you and following you every footstep through the back of the house. Front of the house, no one ever said anything. It was fine. So I was over there one night, and I'm like, well, I got, you know, my camera and some other stuff. Let's just walk around the back, take pictures in different rooms. You always hope to capture an orb or an apparition or sometimes, because it's not always visible by the naked eye. You know, videos do capture a lot. And we were sitting down, and I was going through a lot of the photos, zooming in, looking in different areas of the house. And in one of the pictures, I noticed in the window bottom corner, I'm like, that's funny. I see an apparition of a lady, and I'm like, she looks to be like in her 50s. She had curly hair. She was kind of more of a stocky build, and she had like big eyes. And I'm describing her to my cousin, and my cousin's eyes are getting big, and like her mouth drops open. She's like, well, hang on 1 second. She ran to one of the family walls where they have pictures and grabbed one of the photos and brought it to me, and is like, that's the lady in the, like, that's her. It ended up being her mother-in-law who just passed away maybe 2 weeks prior, and they had the urn still in their master bedroom, which the apparition was captured because they hadn't had time to bury it yet or spread the ashes. So I was like, wow, that was completely crazy. And then I asked her, it's like, well, here's another kind of funny thing. Like right below her, she's like holding a bunny. Like, did she have a pet bunny? Like, she said no, but the darndest thing was her nickname was Bunny. So it was like, oh, wow. So, I mean, that was just kind of like first time I ever captured an apparition on footage. And it was, like I said, it kind of caught me off. And then, like I said, I got excited. I started showing it to her. She somewhat saw it, but then the more people I showed it to, some people were like, we just don't see it. But it was definitely there. Yes?
You said it was in the bottom right-hand corner of the window.
Bottom
Left, it was just the face.
Yeah, it was just the face, no, like the body. It was just like a silhouette portrait style of her. And one of my other ones, I think I was actually a little bit younger, but it didn't have any apparitions, but it was like the forces of that positive energy and that negative energy that you sometimes feel. My stepmom is a director of psychological, it's a big word, I don't know, of health at Children's Hospital in Denver. So one of her bosses invited him to their like really big, fancy, old, like style mansion house in Denver. But mansion is not like what we picture today with like 20 bedrooms and everything. It's just a really big, nice old building, probably from the early 1800s, late 1800s. But like as soon as we rang the door, I was early teen, so probably 13, 14 at this time. As soon as I walked in the house, I right away just was like, oh, there was like a negative force of energy right at the doorwell where it's hard to describe. It wasn't a comfortable feeling. And the owner of the house I think he saw it in my eyes. He's like, oh, do you like notice something? Is there something that, and I told him, yeah, I'm kind of like getting a negative vibe right here. Like there's definitely some energy. And he's like, oh, you'll like this then. So he gave us a tour of the house. We went down to the basement, and the feeling just got so cold. Like it was freezing, and just a gut-wrenching like feeling in your stomach. Like the further down the stairs you went, and like I'm ready to start crying because the coldness and the pain was just so much. And he opened one of the doors, and on the walls you could see like claw marks, like scratches, like little, like everywhere. And they were small, not like a big animal or human made, but it was child size. And what apparently had happened in this house, he told me, was it was like used for children who had anger issues or just behavioral issues where the parents gave up on them. So back then they punished them, they tortured them. That was like their torture area in the basement. They were fed maybe once a day type meals. So this decline was them trying to like get out, escape the prison that was created for them. He then led me upstairs to like the loft area, the top of the house, and a whole different feeling. Like this feeling, it wasn't warm. It was just like there's some negativity, but it had like a musk type smell. Like you could tell pipe tobacco, something like that, and the energy just kept like coming and going. And I'm like, okay, so talking to him, I'm like, there's a different type of energy here. It's not like bad, but it's still not good. And apparently that the warden or the head houseman, whatever you called them back then, that was his area. And every night he would pace himself back and forth smoking a cigar. And that aroma was still there, and you could catch it kind of drifting back and forth in front of you. So those were some of the ones that kind of really helped keep me going, and where my beliefs are still there.
Next up will be Sam. Sam's more in charge of like our alien stuff, but we'll do the ghost hunting. So he's going to tell you some of his stories about aliens, right? I'm just kidding. Okay.
Start with the first one, since we actually have the picture up here. So the picture of that house right up there, we kind of refer to it as like a demon house. So this house is not too far from where my parents live. And it used to be an old campground before it became like someone kind of built a house there and they got rid of that. We went there like a couple of times. Each time there would be different and new kind of writings on the wall. Lots of stuff. A lot of people would go there because it's just out in the middle of nowhere. There's like not really many lights. And they had a barn there. So in this barn there was like wires hanging down from what I would assume kind of being on a farm life is where they like hung animals that they have like killed or like dead chickens. And in the darkness we just see like Keegan and I walk out of that house and we just see these red eyes. So there's just red eyes kind of staring at us through the like barn opening. And we both were just like, did you see that? And then like it was there for a little bit and then it just kind of like disappeared. So, yep.
You said when you were walking out and saw the eyes in the doorway of the barn entrance.
Yes.
Like
So
in the
we-
dark.
In the dark, yeah.
Yeah.
So we walked out of this house right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, so the barn, if the house was like at this wall, the barn prior would have been at least where that back wall is.
Yeah.
And like it was like, we'd always go late at night
usually in February, March, and it was super cold, super dark. No one's out there. We thought it could be an animal, so we would investigate it. Nothing was there.
Yeah.
It's usually like a yellow eye shine you see with animals. But
Yeah.
that kind of gives it that
An idea of like
yeah.
what it was. Yeah, so we just saw that and we were just like, oh, that's interesting. And like we went in there and took some pictures and like we didn't like find anything from it. He has an interesting story about what happened.
I have an EVP that will play later on from that house.
True. We should tell about the car incident too.
With Josh Chang, yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of that one, which was an earlier one. There's two that like have stuck with me later than that. One, my cousin gave me a call about him having some weird incidents in his like hotel, or not hotel, apartment at Brattain Heights, down off of Louisiana in Colorado, in like Denver. And we get there, me and him were like pretty hyped about it, like high energy, like really high energy. It was like a cold night and there was some snow still on the ground. And we go into the building after he let us in, and the first thing we noticed is on his door there's just like this X mark. So it looked like somebody like just like carved an X into his door. And upon entering his apartment, his uncle, like before we even have the cameras on, immediately like possessed Keegan, threw a cocaine at Keegan, and we're just like, we're not even recording yet. Like, just like, calm down a little bit. But upon entering that building, the energy, you could just feel it like pulling and draining you of just like all of your energy. Like we were super hyped up, and then like we started to just kind of get tired, and like it just felt really heavy. And when we started to set up everything, and like we were talking with him about what happened, and apparently before he was there, there was a couple of juggalos that were playing with an Ouija board and probably opened some portals and may have not closed it properly. But we asked him about the X on his door, and he said like one of his neighbors, like even when he first moved in, was just acting really strange, really weird, and was like shaking a hatchet outside of his door, and like he was the one that like caused the X on his door. So it's already like a lot of weird things were happening there. But when we started to investigate, he had one of these coffee tables, kind of like the size of that one over there, but it was like a more rectangular one. And we set a camera on it, and like Keegan was like right in front of the camera, so we went to go down underneath the table. And then we caught a video of something with like a head and like a shoulders down to like about here. And you see it go from behind him to behind the chair really quickly as he like drops down, which I think we might have a video of that. But it was definitely a really interesting sighting that we caught. And it was definitely weird because like we also caught in the camera footage, you see this white orb enter the like right side of his neck, and then he ends up like passing out, and we find him just like passed out on the floor. And then
your buddy.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Yep. And we find Keegan.
Oh, it's you.
Yeah, we find Keegan just passed out on the floor. My cousin and his girlfriend at the time were just like in their room and like letting us just investigate and do it, kind of just do our thing. And then we find him, we pick him up, we bring him over to like his couch, and then in the video footage you see the orb leave the other side of his neck, and immediately as it does, he's just like, I'm feeling better now.
And what's weird about that one is in the video, so his cousin had some cats, and you can actually see the cats like look at the orb and like watch it leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, animals could.
Yeah.
I can see paranormal stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah. It is definitely pretty intense, but it was definitely a good one, and that was like one of the first ones that was like pretty intense. But then he ends up moving to this this house that his brother and his friends used to like rent, and his brother like he got in contact with us again, and then his brother told us stories of him being alone in the house, and he would see like a shadowy figure like go from his friend's room, like come out and then go downstairs, and then like a little bit later his friend would come home and he was just like, wait, did you not just go downstairs? So there was already incidences there prior, but we went to go investigate this house, and we got all set up. We were kind of just going around it, and he said like when he would sleep, he would just hear 3 knocks like right behind his headboard on the wall, and it would just like knock 3 times in succession. And so we were looking around trying to find stuff, and then his brother's old friend's room was on like the corner of the house, and one of our other investigators, which isn't here tonight, but he went into that room and he called Keegan over and was just like, come check out this room. And he, like when you walked into that room, it was like hitting a wall of electricity, and like it was just like you just felt it. Your hairs would like go up.
It was like if you walked into a pool, like, you know, that sensation when you're walking into a pool and it just feels like it's that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
Like you felt that heaviness too?
Yeah. It was like yeah, it was just super heavy and electrical. So I was standing outside of the room. My cousin was just like sitting on a chair, like right where Matt was, and I was just standing there like this, and they were in the room with an EVP on the floor, and they was asking it questions. And while they were asking questions, my cousin started to just like, his head would start like going like this, and while his like head was moving, he was just like, and was just like doing that, and then like he stopped, and I was just like, okay, that's interesting. And then the one dude that found the room, asked the question, was starting to like antagonize it, like try to antagonize the like whatever spirit was in there creating that energy, and he was just like, do you not want to talk to me? And like my cousin just immediately replied, he was just like, I thought we were friends, come and talk to me. And I was just like, okay, this is getting real weird. And then he rushed everybody out of the room. He went to every camera and was like, turn that off, stop recording. And like I was holding my hands like this, and he was just like, are you recording something? And like was just like literally searching, and I was just like, no dude, I don't have anything. And then he like sat us all on the couch, and we were just like sitting there for a minute, and we were just like, okay, what do we do now? And then once we were able to finally like leave, we went to go check the EVP because we left that one in the room still recording, and like all the cameras, all the EVP was just like completely wiped. All the data was just gone. Like it was the weirdest. Like there was one of the like really intense, like strange experience. But those are like the couple that I have dealt with. I mean, I have a couple others, but we all have had like experiences there. But those two were like pretty intense, just because like the way he acted was just so not normal, and it was just like something definitely like got into him and like essentially possessed him.
Does he remember doing all that or saying all that?
No, he does not.
Okay, wow,
Yeah, he does not remember that, and like he doesn't even remember us investigating that night. So he doesn't remember us coming over and then investigating.
Like prior, like even before he got. Like,
Yeah, even before we got there and like set up and like we were talking to him about stuff, like he doesn't remember any of it. And so we were just like, okay, there was definitely something there, and we always wanted to go back, but we just never got the opportunity to, and like he ended up moving a little bit after that. Hasn't had anything since, but like it was still like very, very intense. Wish we could have kept something, because who knows what it was like maybe communicating with us through the EVP.
Alright, so my brother Colin and my uncle Mark were like the first 3 to start the group. So a lot of our stories kind of meld together. Obviously, I've lived with him his whole life, so that's bound to happen, right? So Colin's going to tell you a little bit of his, I'll tell you some of mine, then I'll tell you an additional one that's not mine, and that's always kind of stuck with me.
So I'm going to start with the first true experience I've experienced. So I'm going to date myself, but 1999, late 2000s. We lived in this house, we call it the Willow House, and we always went downstairs, played in the basement. And our basement was finished, but the crawl space still had the dirt and all that stuff, so they didn't really finish it. And we always tried to dare each other to go in the crawl space, and I didn't like it because there were spiders in there, but we'll digress on that. But there's one night where we were doing that, and we both were like, all right, we'll both go in there. And I remember there was this little toy chest that the back of the toy chest was broken off, so we slid the door open. I would honestly say that ruby red eyes doesn't even give it justice. There was two ruby red eyes glowing, looking directly right at us, and just floating in midair. There was nothing around it. You could still see the dirt underneath it, but the eyes you could see were looking straight into your. Oh, no, I don't like that. I still see it to this day. One of the creepiest ones I've dealt with it were those eyes, and I don't like it.
You just in the
Just-
crawl spaces.
Yep, looking right at us, floating. And we had our parents come down later because they didn't believe us at the time. And they looked, they had the flashlight, they couldn't find anything. And yeah, so we never went to that basement ever again. Then we moved to the Hamilton house, and that's where all of our experiences really started hitting when.
The Hamilton house is why we're here today. Like,
That's what started the ghost hunting, everything.
yeah, I still get dreams. Like, I'll be in a normal place in my dream, and next thing I know, bam, Hamilton house. Like, the spirits are there, and I can feel good. It was a weird place.
So one of the fun experiences I've experienced was like we had our little living room and then the kitchen, and the kitchen had like a little archway to the dining room. And like we could be sitting here and like that archway could be that door there. And you could feel like the pressure or something just like glaring right at you. And no matter where you moved, it followed you down that hallway. And we had a dog, her name was Bailey, and there's times where she went to like the corner of the room, hair sticking up, on point, death bark, and just staring at thin air, the wall. We couldn't see it at the time. I'll let you explain the penguin though.
No, I wasn't going to talk about the penguin. Yeah, so we call it the penguin because of how it moves. We shared a bedroom at the time on the second floor. We had bunk beds. And so we were going to bed at the same time. I remember I went to stand and I looked like if I was grabbing, the ladder to go up, and there was just something like right here. And it was very cliche, that ghost, just a bedsheet over it kind of look. And for some reason in my mind, I was like, oh, it's a dog or something. Got one of the blankets on it. And so I reached out towards it like that, and it was all like waddled backwards like that. You know how like a penguin walks. I mean, that was a super brief experience, but I mean, that was that one.
Oh yeah.
That was the first time I saw anything physical. The thing that really sticks with me at that house was eventually, as the hauntings started to get worse and worse, we didn't like sleeping by ourselves, so we would sleep in our parents' room until my dad got home. And he would take us to our rooms and put us to bed. And one night, I remember I woke up and I looked and I saw him, or what looked like him, from behind, like at the door like this. I was like, because we were all kind of on edge, so I was like, I'm going to pretend I'm asleep and scare him. So I was just waiting. And then next thing I knew, it was like this. It was like bending down, and it looked like it was trying to lock the door. And we didn't have locks on the door, so that's why I was like, that's weird. And so I kept watching it, and it was like it felt me watching it, because next thing it did, it was like, and like turned and looked at me. And it like, I can remember it like, once it turned, it didn't look like my dad at all. Like I could see its like very thin cheekbones and like purple like almond eyes and like a blue around its eyes and really spiky hair. And it like started to come towards me and just was like, and so that's one of the experiences I think sticks with me the most. It's definitely the spirit I have dreams about a lot. Another one, before I get to my last story, is at Waverly Hills, which I'm sure if you guys watch any of the ghost hunting shows, you've seen Waverly Hills. It's by far the most haunted place I've been to. The Stanley Hotel, big bust. They're going to try to get you to spend lots of money there. It's not worth it. Waverly Hills was complete opposite. We walked it during the daytime, and they'd always ask, do you guys want to go down here and experience it? I was like, yes. And the rest of the group, because we just kind of went with a huge group, and the other group members were like, no, I'm good. And me and Cole were like, yeah, no, I want to go.
Let's do it.
And so there was a bend, which you can see. So like the main building's like this, and then it bends off and kind of turns. And they'd be like, just go to the bend and then turn around. And I just remember watching Colin in broad daylight walk down this hallway. And he'd turn around, and then it was like the shadows engulfed him and we couldn't see him.
And the thing with Waverly is the hospital is built to be open so the patients would get the fresh air. So on both sides, they had the double doors that were open, and right now they're all decorated. So there was nothing that would potentially create that darkness at that time. And it was, what do you say, 4 o'clock?
It was like 2 o'clock, which is like 4 o'clock here if you're on the Eastern time zone, as far as when the sun's setting. But I think a story that sticks with me, because, going back to the beginning, I've always believed in the paranormal, but I'm also super skeptic in anything that we go investigate. Just like, I don't know, growing up reading a lot of Houdini stuff, I always try to have that skepticism, because I think you want your mind open, but what is it? If you have your mind too open, your brain's going to fall out, right? You don't want to be letting too much stuff in. But there's a story that I just don't know how you can explain, and it happened to my dad. So my dad and his papu were super close, and when my dad was like 9 years old, his papu passed away unexpectedly. We're Greeks, so papu's grandfather. I'm sorry, I'm like just telling the story, you guys might not. So he passed away, and it was like midnight, 1 o'clock. My yaya got the phone call, and so she was up all night trying to figure out how she's going to explain to my dad that his papu had passed away. And I think it was like 6 or 7 in the morning. She's watching, he comes out his door, and he's like talking to something. And then she watches him go into my uncle's room, who was just a baby at the time. And then she's kind of upset, like, oh, he's going to wake up the baby. And he comes back out, and he's talking again up. And then he looks at the vent, and he turns around, and he's like, Mom, did you see Papu? And my kind of played off, no, I just woke up, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, I woke up because there was this like loud noise, and Papu was there, and he was like, his clothes were really sparkly and shiny, and his skin wasn't wrinkled, like it was smooth, and he wanted to come say goodbye, and he wanted to go see Mark, and then he wanted to go back downstairs to see his old room one more time. And so it kind of explained everything that she had seen, and that's the one that I'm like, it's hard for me to like understand how he could have made that up, not knowing what had happened, So that's kind of our stories. We'll get to a Q&A section here in a second.
Actually, got one more.
You want one more? No, you
Actually,
should.
2 more. So,
Well, just talk.
So, one of my last really, this one was terrifying for me, experiences was, I was awoken probably around like 2 in the morning or so. Not really sure what it was. Something was like literally just thrown in my room. And you could hear it hit to the walls. And come to find out, it was like a little model helicopter that I had way over here, and somehow it's on the bed already. It's great. But during that time, because now you're awake, your heart's pumping, you don't know what to do because you're frozen. I could feel the right corner of my bed start to sink in. And I'm not talking about like just a shallow one. It was all the way down to the box spring. And I could start just feeling my body just start rotating to it. And I was trying everything in my power not to fall into that. I fell out of bed because of it. I made sure the blanket was still on top of me because I was around 10, 11 at that time, so still didn't really like the paranormal, but I knew it. But right before I kind of just, I didn't really fall back to sleep. I went back to sleep just with heightened awareness. I could feel the blanket rustling, and it was wrapped around me at this time. And I wasn't moving on the ground. I could just feel like it was almost trying to grab it from the feet, try to rip it off. But I didn't let it. And then I woke up the next day and figured out the helicopter moved, and I was like, oh, that helicopter never lived on that shelf again after that. And then there was a picture up on the last slide. It's the Ouija board. And you all know the Ouija board?
I never used it, but I know what it is.
Don't use it.
Yeah, I don't plan on it.
Because,
I mean, me and Cooks used it in an episode.
well, the Ouija board most of the time doesn't really produce stuff. But it's that occasional time where if you're in the right spot at the right time, you could bring in some demon of any sort. And yes, it will communicate through that board. But once you do that communication, you now have let it in to follow you around. You've given it permission to come into your house. I would say don't even play with that board. Keep playing it on games. Don't play it in real life.
So, I mean, it's not the Ouija board, so to say. It's more just you're giving something that you can't see, you don't know where it's at, permission to interact with you, and you don't know what it can do. You can do it with anything. It doesn't have to be an Ouija board.
Whether you're
Like,
using a tool or not.
yeah, I mean, you could take a banana and a piece of paper and it would give you the same effect, right? It's more just the permission of, you know, hey, I give you permission to interact with me, and not, you can't see what's interacting with you, so you don't know if it's good or bad. A lot of time bad spirits do pretend to be good, or else they can't get close to you, right? Angie would agree. So, like I said, we're going to have a Q&A section towards the end, as well as if you guys want to look at some of the equipment we have, you're more than welcome to. Those are all the places you can find us. Pretty much any social media, as far as Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, what's the other ones? Facebook. I don't know. I'm bad with that. But we figured, why not share some stuff we found?
Before we share that, I was kind of curious if anybody here has actually had any experiences, please.
Yeah, so I'm a freshman, so it was during the summer before I came to school here. You know, I was living with my parents, obviously, as a freshman, and I get home at like 2 in the morning, walk in to the house, and I just, so you have the front door, right? Right as you open the front door, you can see the living room just from walking in. I walk in, close the door. 2 seconds later, I just see something appear, you know, in the living room area, and it looked like a, you know, silhouette. It was a silhouette, but at the time I was like, you know how like when a car passes by and the lights kind of shine through the house? I was like, it might be that, but I was like, no, I heard no car pass by. It didn't look like that, and it just stayed in that spot. It was like, it wasn't white, but it was, you know, grayish, whitish color. I don't know how to describe it. So I was like, okay, wow. Thing just starts coming towards me, and I'm just standing there because, you know, I was scared, right?
When you do.
So I was like, what is this? And it just comes towards me, and the entrance to the basement is right next to the garage, which is right next to the front door, and it's just to the right of the garage entrance. Turns, goes down to the basement, all my hair just stand up, I get the chills, right? So I'm like, all right, let's go to my room. Follow me to my room, because my hair stood up again, you know, I got goosebumps and all that, and I felt that cold air again. I was like, what? So I just, I don't know, after that, I just kind of like closed my door, went to my bed. It, you know, it went away, but I was like, wow. And then my brother, give you a little bit of context, one of the nights before, I scared him because, you know, we're twins. I was being a dick, you know, like.
The same,
But you know, he was just in the basement because his room was in the basement at the time, and I just scared him because all the lights were off and he was playing games or whatever with his headphones on. So I creep up to the side, you know, I scare him. He's like, "Dude, what the hell?" Like this and that. A few nights later, keep in mind, I'm not down there. I'm doing my own thing. It was at night again. He's doing the same thing. No, actually he was sleeping. And then he all of a sudden, like, he wakes up, and then he sees like this big shadow figure standing in front of his bed. So he's thinking it's me. So he's like, "Gavin, get out of here, I swear." Or like, you know, just something like that. And then he gets you know, kind of like sits up in his bed, shines his phone light. Nothing there. So then he's like, "What the hell?" And it was a tall shadow figure too. It was like he was saying it was like 8 feet tall or something like that. So he was just like, "Okay, well." And then after that, it was like a couple nights later. He's alone in the living room. The living room and kitchen are like connected. They're like in one thing, right?
Yeah.
So he's just sitting at the dining table, just eating a late night snack. He just sees that silhouette appear. The curtains are, I'm trying to describe this. Dining table, curtains, and windows on the side of the house. Silhouette appears at the front of the curtains, right? And then like he just sees the silhouette come towards him, and as the silhouette's coming towards him, all the curtains are like moving with it, right?
Okay.
And then silhouette stops at his side, goes through his body, you know, he gets the chills, hair stand up and everything like that.
Feel sick at all?
No, he didn't say anything about feeling sick.
Okay.
But then after that, stayed on the left side for like a few seconds and then just kind of disappeared. So then he's like, "Okay, wow." Like that just happened, right? So yeah, parents house is haunted. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else want to share anything? Go ahead.
So me and my family, we went to West Virginia because it was I just graduated high school, and so we went up to West Virginia. We went up to this private tour in I think it was a mental hospital, and so the tour guide throughout the tour, he's like talking about all these other different happenings around the hospital. And then at the end, we're like in this one hallway, and then we all sit at different ends of the hallway, and then the guy, he sits, and we're gonna try to communicate with the spirits. And then so he starts whistling, and then nothing starts happening, and then he whistles again. I didn't hear it, but this one lady was like, and my mom heard it, I didn't hear it, but it was like this faint whistle. And then he tried it, and he tried whistling again. He was like, "Can you do that too?" And I heard some other people heard this very faint voice say, "Oh." Just like this voice be like, "No, leave me alone."
That did.
Yeah, that's weird how spirit, like, I don't know, I've always kind of thought of spirits when you hear them sound almost radio-like. Is that how it was? Like a radio sensation, like kind of staticky? Because, I mean, me and him had one too. We still don't know if it was the people at work playing tricks on us, but like we heard like a girl's voice say hello, and we both kind of looked at the same way. But it's always like that staticky sound. Is that kind of like what it was like?
No, it sounded like distant.
Distant, like it was far away.
Yeah, it was kind of like it was like maybe like downstairs or something.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like very, very faint. It was like very far away. You could still hear it. It was like far away.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for sharing. I know it's hard being people that have had experiences, especially back in Oregon. It's hard to talk to people about that kind of stuff. So thank you guys for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else want to share?
No?
Okay.
Alright. So let's see. If it pulls up. Maybe. else. I don't know if we're gonna go see this news. No, it's too hard. It's not. That's a thunder. So this is a super old photo from 2007. The phones we have now get better photos than this, and this was like a high quality actual phone. If you look at the picture, which is hard to see here, but like right here in the doorway, there's a shadow person. And if you guys want, you guys can come up later and we'll show you on the computer so you can see. But it almost looks like it's looking at the camera with like a gorilla face. It's kind of weird. Because not to say it's like a gorilla, but it has like the brow. Yeah, see, yeah, try it.
Ha!
You can see a little bit. Yeah, so here's the doorway. You can see the doorway here, and then right here. Do you guys see that?
I can see like
That thing, at least right here.
Right in the middle, right?
Yeah.
I see it.
oh wait, there's a darker spot?
Yeah, like this brown here.
Is it right there?
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It almost looks like it's wearing a nose sheet or something like that.
Yeah, and then like right here, you can almost see like a brow ridge, and 2 eyes and a nose. Probably just matrixing as far as the face goes, but there's definitely something there. So there's that one. Let's see. What play? Okay, so this is the EVP we were talking about as far as the demon house goes. But it's not a human spirit, it's not demonic, it's actually an animal. Let's see if you guys can capture it. So did you hear it like towards the end? Like,
Is that,
it's almost like a dog barking.
was it at the end?
Yeah, towards the end there was like that. And we can replay that.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking of. Okay.
Yeah, so there's nothing barking in the video, but it caught it on the EVP, which obviously makes it kind of intriguing. Try not to do the bacon split. So that one's hard to hear because we are walking up the stairs at Waverly Hills. If you're listening really closely, you can kind of hear it as we're walking between it. You hear someone say like, "I take last stand" or something of that sort. We'll play it again. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not starting off with the big guns yet. I don't want to like hype you up. But I'm glad you guys can at least hear some of those. Let's see, which one should we do next? I don't want to do that one. Alright. Yeah, we'll play it again. You remember this one?
Yeah.
So Matt were you listening to it live when it happened?
Yes.
So he had the headphones on while he's doing the EVP, and so for him it was really clear, but it says "kill yourselves."
That's what I heard.
Okay. So this is in the house that Andrew was talking about where he felt like the burning sensation. We did like a month-long investigation there.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting to catch on an EVP recording.
Let's see.
I still don't believe anything.
Just ignore it. It's a party pooper something.
Was that you, the tap I just heard in the bathroom? Can you do it again?
Yeah, it sounds like it says "I was there," which Aaron, who was our case manager at the time, was asking, were you the one that made the knock? Let's see if we can just play the. And so we were actually investigating the Bonnie Bray Tavern, which I think is closed now in Denver. But Aaron used to work there, and the family had owned it was a family friend. So we're not sure if it was the old owner that had passed away or a customer or something. Let's see. Okay, so I'm sorry for the bad quality. This video is super old. So it was before like where you could just plug something into the computer. So right here is going to be Alan. I forget who's behind him. I think it's one of the owners. And then Corey was here. She had the best view and she wasn't recording. Very upset about always record when you're doing stuff like this. We were doing a flashlight test. So you'll see the flashlights right here. Just keep an eye on it.
Use the energy. Nice.
Yeah, so they were able to get the spirit to turn the flashlight on at that point. Let's see. That's fine. Saved it on this one.
What's your name?
Okay, so this one is newer. Again, it's at the house that we investigated where, Andrew was talking about filling the thing on his shoulder. We were in the homeowner's daughter's room and just trying to ask the name while the homeowner was there.
What's your name?
Try and play it again.
Yeah.
What's your name?
So, for us, this is another really good piece of evidence. It's through the spirit box, which, if you guys know, that's just sweeping through all the radio channels and just doing white noise. So to get the same voice 3 times is super rare. Like, obviously, it's not just going to be a radio station at that point, and different radio stations aren't going to be able to produce the same sounding noise. But at the same time, it says Amanda twice and says remember, because Andrew's the one holding the spirit box, and Beth, who was the homeowner, was right next to them. And like I said, they were in Amanda's room. Amanda had passed away a year or 2 before we had gone. And so to get that response to us, I mean, it was hard. It was a sad thing to get, but at the same time, the family, they confirmed it sounded like her, and it brought them a lot of happiness to hear. So at the same time, it was sad, but it was nice to at least give them something like that, to just say, yeah, she is okay. Okay. So it's just a compilation video of some more stuff. What you're gonna be looking for is this top corner over here. Just look at the clothes rack. Like, did you see it move? Like,
Do it again.
and it moves at the same time here like that, or like, cause it wasn't like, what? Yeah, we'll go full screen. It wasn't, it was just like those, like, what are those called? Where you just buy them at the store and then open them up to hang clothes on them.
Yeah. Yeah.
but it was in the basement, and so that's what they were, and it like moved it.
Replay it one more time.
One more time. Yeah, so look in this area right here. This is again at the bottom. Let's see. That one was.
Is there anyone in here?
Can we turn it up a little bit? Or is it as high as it
I
goes?
think it's as high as it goes.
Okay.
So this is like our first ghost hunt. So this is from like 2008. That's why the video quality is not very good. But right here, what we had done is it was at our yaya's house. You know, we were just kind of starting off, just wanting to see if we could capture anything. And we went upstairs to eat breakfast, and we left the camera facing the bathroom mirror, just so, you know, maybe it'll catch something. And right here is the reflection of the hallway, and there's a shirt. And what you'll actually see is something like kind of dark go in front of it, and then the shirt moves. And watch, yeah. Like, do you guys see that?
And the crazy thing about that is we caught it coming back. So it moved the shirt and then it came through the camera back into the furnished room.
Where was that shirt at again?
So it was just hanging. It was just hanging on top of like the doorway because it couldn't go through the dryer. So it's just hang drying at the time.
Yeah, and so it was just hanging there, and it might have been like almost a week later, we watched it, and we're like, oh, whoa, look at that. Like, you know, because we weren't down there filming. Like I said, very early on in our ghost hunting days. Let's see which ones. This one might be too quiet to play through this. Yeah, so that was, it's hard to hear on here, but it says, like, I don't like peace, but it's very guttural. We were just at some apartments, and it wasn't doing anything for us, but as soon as we put the homeowner back in there, the activity started back up. So, and again, here's that picture. You might be able to see it a little better. So right here, like I said, the brow line right there, and then the eyes, and the nose, like a mouth, and then it's standing like that. Because you can see the doorways right here.
That's the same doorway.
That's the same doorway as that shirt. So back here is the mirror that the camera was pointing into. So we were able to also get a picture of the same location. Granted, it's not like today we can put a cell phone and get like 4K. Let's see.
Can you interact with me? How? Are you in the bathroom? Yes? You are? Turn the light on. Can you turn the light on? Can you turn the light off? Is this noise normal? Are you angry? I'm here to help. I want to help you.
So did you guys kind of hear all that? Yeah, so that was the homeowner, Justin. So that's why, obviously, he doesn't work with any other equipment. That's why he was like, is this normal? Like, he was like getting pretty freaked out there. But we thought it was intriguing because you heard the frequency go up when he was asking if it was angry. As soon as he was like saying he just wanted to help it, it came back down to normal, and we got that response at the end. This one's also going to be at the Bonnie Bray Tavern in Denver.
Fuzzy, but that's most of them will be good, and then when we start feeling something, it gets fuzzy. Well, and I started taking a bunch of pictures to compare it to, and they're all kind of fuzzy. So we'll have to go through and look at them.
When we were in here, open it right now.
So did you guys hear that one?
Right at the end there.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's saying the line's already closed. So again, we don't know if it was the old owner being like, hey, we're closed now. What are you guys doing back here? We'll play it again.
Well, and I started taking a bunch of pictures to compare it to, and they're all kind of fuzzy. So we'll have to go through and look at them.
When we were in here, open it right now. Because you were making me angry. I think you need to go cool off. Why is it not doing it now?
Okay, so this is at the Castle Rock Chamber of Commerce, by far the most active EVP place we've been to. And me and Josh were on the top floor, and as you can see, I was getting angry at this spirit. Mainly because it would open one of the doors behind us every time we turn away. Like, we'd be filming it, nothing. We'd turn away, and it was like, click, open. And I was just like, why won't you do it when I'm watching you?
That's you guys getting mad at the
Yeah. Yeah, and it was really hard to open. Like, it wouldn't happen by itself. Me and Josh spent an hour trying to debunk this. It was an old house built in the 1800s, and they had added carpet. So to open that door, you really had to pull it. And so that's why I'm like, why won't you open it when I have the camera on? I'm so mad.
Why is it not doing it now?
I don't.
Yeah, and before we went there, they only thought they had a female spirit named Victoria, because Victoria was the old homeowner. So we're not sure if this was Victoria's dad. It wasn't Victoria. That's all we kind of took away from that.
Can you push Keegan down the flight of stairs? I would love to be pushed down this flight.
Yeah, so open the door whenever we're not.
Yeah, here's the video of the little figure.
It doesn't see very far. Then this one gets like the chair and the space there, and then there.
What is your name?
Then this one gets like the chair and
Yeah, so I went down because I didn't want to be in front of the camera.
What is your name?
And so this is like the EVP outside of Amanda that I really enjoy. Just because there's a whole story behind it. I'll let you listen to it first and we'll kind of tell you the story.
What is your name?
So so we'll go back to the beginning. So you'll see my hand here with the EVP. When I ask it its name, it says Lawrence, and then you see something come down, and it turns like it's looking at the EVP recorder. So we'll watch that one more time.
What is your name?
So did you guys see it that time? Yeah. So, yeah, that one was in Lemon Ridge in Castle Rock. There's no known Lawrences that live there. John B. Memons, the previous owner, was an old homestead. None of the kids that died there was named Lawrence. It's really weird though because shortly after we were getting some briefcases. We didn't bring that one, so we're okay tonight.
Was this inside of a house?
No, this is outside in Lemon Ridge, going up the hill.
It looked like a moth.
It's not. Close your mouth. Go to bed. Go
Go to sleep.
So my mom went to the thrift store. Was looking for some briefcases for us because we were all in high school. We don't have money to be buying nice looking briefcases. And she found a really nice leather one. Brought it home. Was cleaning it. Pulled out the death certificate that she found in there, and the name on there was Lawrence. And so Lawrence has just been a weird name, like it pops up every once in a while. When we went to New York, we walked up to the World Trade Center memorial pools, because the first night they were not open, because they were adding some of the other monuments. And then so the second night we went up there, it was dark, it was really nice, we were just kind of watching it, taking it all in. I set my hand down. I looked down because I just was filming for the vlog and looked down. And my hand was resting on the name Lawrence. And so Lawrence is always kind of like this weird thing. We don't know why it keeps coming back. But yeah, that's some of ours. We have some other ones on our YouTube. We just figured those were our best ones. But yeah, we brought some of our equipment if you guys want to come take a look.
Just to clarify, you said the briefcase that your mom bought had the name Lawrence on it, and then you heard the name Lawrence.
So we saw this first.
Okay. Yeah.
And then a little bit later, my mom bought the briefcase. There was no name on the briefcase. It was really nice.
Where did she get the briefcase?
At a thrift store. She opened it up, nothing in it. And when she was cleaning out the pockets, just making sure it was all good, that's when she pulled out the death certificate that had Lawrence on it.
Where did she find the death certificate? It was just in one of the pockets?
Yeah, it's still in there. I haven't taken it out.
Lawrence the moth?
Yeah, so we brought some of our equipment if you guys want to come take a look or learn a little bit about it. This one's a laser grid. I'm sure some of you guys have seen. Oh, if you want to keep them off for a second. Yeah. No, you're good. Yeah, so this is a laser grid, one of our two. Liz, do you want to hold that for me? We have another one here.
What is the laser grid for?
Well, that's fine. Here, turn that one on. Why is it not doing it? No, it's on.
It's on. It's
No, there you go. Put it back over here. There's another laser. So these are two different types of laser grids. How they help us is if anything walks in front of it, you can kind of map out its features using 3D programming. Obviously, when people like Houdini or the Warrens were doing their stuff, they didn't have all this equipment. You imagine like, what if they did? How much more would we find? Another really handy, trusty thing is cameras. We have tons of cameras. I'm sure you guys have seen these. Night vision, full spectrum, 4K. We have our DVR. We just use Night Owl. It's 1080 HD. It's just a basic security one, but it works. Has anyone ever seen these on the shows? This is an E-pod or a REM pod, sometimes they call it. It just kind of tells you if it's picking up any electricity. Right now there's a ton of electricity around us, so it's picking up, it's close, near, and far. The different colors, obviously. Usually green's on. If red's on, that means it's kind of close, and then this one's like super close, which I'm standing right next to this. It's going to catch tons of electricity. But that kind of helps if you, see, I moved it away and then it turned off. So it's just picking up different electricity. So if you're in a place and it's completely dark, then it turns on, something weird's going on. It also helps us locate what is called a fear box. And these are boxes where it's not paranormal, there's just a high amount of electricity and it messes with your brain to make it seem like something is going on. This is our phantom light. Right now it's just the two because it's not on fully, but this kind of helps get you to full spectrum. You need a full spectrum light. I know on TV they're always just like, all right, full spectrum. There's like a whole setup though to get to that. That's just one of the tools that we use. Again, just a normal still camera. Still pictures are really good. You see a lot of orbs and stuff, though we don't classify orbs as spirits, just more balls of electricity. More camera.
Or dust. Or
Lots
moths.
of dust. Usually orbs are dust. True orbs move and appear and disappear usually within the frame, and they also don't move sporadically. They're perfectly circle too. Like bugs are like.
Yeah, they flop around a lot.
Yeah. And then this is the spirit box.
It's a spirit box.
It's the S box. Super loud, but nothing's going through right now. So, like I was saying, when we caught the Amanda one, it was weird because it sweeps and then it was, catching the same voice over the different channels. So, we got these up here if you guys want to come look at them and kind of get hands-on, or if you have questions about the equipment, or just different questions you might have about our experiences, more of what we do when we go sign anything, just let us know.